Morning, welcome back to Morning at NTV. My name is Malaki Vilodera. Now today on the Kickstarter segment, we'll be talking about what we saw last week. And this is the 2018 State of Uganda's Population Report. And according to the report, they actually say that the total fertility rate of the country currently stands at 5.1%. And what this means is the average number of children that a woman can get in her lifetime. So let's break it down and get to understand what this means for the economy. And if the economy is ever to get to a good state, what will it mean? And so in studios to talk about that is Dr. Jotham Musinguzi, who is the Director General of the National Population Council. Welcome to studios.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So we saw this, and the conversation has been, how do we get to attain the demographic dividend in the country?
Yes, so last week, as you rightly said, you saw the launch of the SUPRI, the State of Uganda's Population Report, and in it we were really talking about the challenges and opportunities that Uganda has in order to really benefit from the demographic dividend, benefiting from the bulge in its population, especially of its young people. This can be a challenge, but it can also be a great opportunity for making sure you have a great economic growth in terms of having more people who are employed, who have jobs, who can save and contribute to the economy. But if these people, these young people, do not have the education, they don't have the skills, they don't have the jobs, then it can be a challenge. And I think those are the things that we are talking about, trying to see how we can balance the two.
Right. And part of the solutions that you're actually proposing is the conversation to do with contraception.
Right.
Family planning.
Family planning.
You know, it's a sensitive matter in an African state, especially Uganda, with cultural beliefs, religious beliefs. How do you intend on approaching that subject?
Yeah. Actually, a lot of us are not surprised that it remains sensitive because it is quite new to a lot of people. But also considering that in African culture, if you have people who depend on agriculture, production of food, using hand hoe, so the more people you have to till the land, it would look more reasonable that people should have many children. So that is really where we come from. But we also know that with education, with the jobs, with the fewer children, you can also manage to get along. And so this is the debate, really. That's where we are coming from. And we understand the sensitivities of the country. We know where we are coming from, but we know also where we are going. As Uganda modernizes, the issue of quality is what we are going to be talking about. To think that at the moment in Uganda, we still produce, on average, 6 children per woman.
Yes.
When does this woman have the opportunity to rest, to enjoy good health, but also to get involved in gainful employment? If most of her time she's going to be pregnant and expecting to be looking after these babies. Children are really expensive in terms of time. They need you to be there for them, to protect them from injury, to make sure you feed them. They need to sleep and to wake up and be bathed. So this is very heavy. So we need to protect also our women, to know that women need to take off rest so that they are healthier. And so family planning comes in to look at the benefits of the mother, of the child, but also this is the modern way to go. Family planning helps us to reduce dependency. It is, family planning is an economic issue.
I'll give you feedback, and this we got on social media platform, and what we posted, of course, on that day when this report was released is population demographic experts say fertility levels in Uganda need to be further suppressed to figures lower than 5.1%, which is the current fertility rate. Now the feedback. We had Mr. Alex Baha, who said the high population is always an asset if well planned for. The tremendous growth of China and India are testimonies to this effect. It is only a sleeping government that sees a high population as a liability. That's comment number one. The other comment that caught our eyes here in the newsroom is the government should develop some seriousness. Ugandans are not poor because of the population, but how the government operates. And this, he says, this is to do with the resources and corruption and all these other things. The other feedback that you're getting is the high population the cause of poverty in Uganda? I guess not. And this is coming from Mr. Mugabe Kenneth. I guess not. Mismanagement of resources from the leaders' side needs to be checked. And so the population will regulate itself if this is fast checked. These are the views that we're getting from social media. Let me get one more, and this is from Mr. Lukende, and he says that if these people actually okay, I wouldn't go to that one because it's quite expressive. Now, those are the views of the people. They say, let people live, let them. After all, what religious, groups that are totally against contraception, what they say is, God says that intimacy is meant for, procreation. So why should we, attack that? What they're saying is the government needs to plan better for the population that is there. What's your take on that? And these are views from urbaners, city dwellers. How about the rural dwellers? How will you be able to capture that? Right.
So there are mixed messages out there. A number of them obviously quite right as such. Population is not always just the problem. And a high population is also not just the problem per se. Indeed, China is doing quite well, but of course people need to know that China had to reduce its fertility rate to 1 child per woman. For every woman to produce, every family actually produce 1, 2. Now they are changing their minds, but they had to reduce fertility as well in order to go up. So the issue of reducing fertility for purposes of making sure that we are empowering women to have time to be healthier and to look after their children so their children are healthier. They need to reduce infertility so that we can reduce dependence at the family level. If you have so many kids, you cannot give them good education. These things are they make a lot of sense if you look at them holistically, not just one. So it is not just looking at the total population of the country, but look at the family level, at the individual level, but also look at the aggregate. And indeed, government must do the right thing. So those who are saying government has a role to play, really spot on. Government must make sure that there is education, there are skills, and their jobs. It's the government role to make sure that there are good policies out there, good economic policies, good education policies, good health policies, so that the people benefit from that. This is not the role of the individual has a role as well, but that's the role of government.
Right.
So government must play its role. And the fact that the population is big doesn't mean that we are doomed. We can do something about our population. China has done something about it. Uganda, we are doing something about it. That is exactly the role of the policies that we are putting in place. Actually, and we'll get there.
Yes. Actually, experts say that Uganda is not short of policies. The issue is the enforcement of this particular and implementation of these particular policies. Yeah. Okay, just break it down for us in terms of your strategy to address this issue with contraception, especially in the rural areas where a majority of Ugandans actually live.
Right, and we are not really talking about contraception alone, and family planning alone.
Right.
We are talking, as you heard me talking about, actually the first policies are in the field of education. We want to make sure that people have basic education, and it is good education. It gives our people innovation. It is not that we want everybody to go and get a PhD or become a professor in the university. No, we want education that is holistic, that starts early, that identifies the talents of young people so they become innovators. That's what we are really talking about. So even if somebody doesn't go up to university, they can still manage to live, they're innovators, they can employ other people.
Right.
So education policies, making sure they have skills, they have jobs. Then you go to health, make sure that they are healthy, start with whatever immunization. We in the population field, we are very, very supportive of immunization programs, nutrition, but even lifestyles as well. And this is becoming a big issue in Uganda, that a lot of diseases, we can prevent them by adopting healthy lifestyles. That is something that we should do. And then after that, of course, issues of population management, population planning, issues of family planning come in. And family planning is an important and sort of a high impact, yet low cost intervention, just like immunization. Family planning by preventing risky pregnancies It prevents women from dying. There is high maternal mortality in this country.
Right.
Women who die during pregnancy and childbirth in Uganda is far too high. Family planning is one of those ways in which you prevent risky pregnancies, because women are able to space their children.
Right.
And those type of things. So family planning is useful in population management, population planning, but as well it has some very important health benefits.
I totally agree with you. I mean, family planning is the way to go, especially now that the teenage pregnancy rate is at 25%, meaning 1 girl out of every 4 is actually pregnant.
Either pregnant or is already a mother. And this is, they should be in school.
Exactly. But how do you intend on working together with religious leaders who are very influential, especially in the rural areas? I know you're in touch with the people living in the rural areas, and once you get there now, reality hits hard. The issue of family planning needs to be talked of as soon as yesterday. So what's the strategy of the National Population Council?
Actually, the National Population Council, and together with our partners and stakeholders, UNFPA, United Nations Population Fund, we are reaching out to the religious leaders. A number of the religious leaders are already coming on board. It's not that everybody is still not there. We still have work to do out there with some of them, but we have to continue engaging them. We understand we are coming from different backgrounds. If you are from the Catholic Church, there are strong views out there.
Very strong views.
On family planning, and we have no problem with them. They can have the views, but all we are saying, we want to have a conversation so that we understand where we are coming from, and so that we can meet halfway if need be. But they need to know that family planning is useful for their people who attend a church service. And but even if you go to Italy and you go to Rome, you find that even where His Holiness the Pope stays, some people have found you can still use family planning for where, if you are advised properly, you can use family planning, but it should be voluntary, but also people must be given advice on what is the best method that you can use.
Right.
There are some people shouldn't use certain methods, but there are also those methods that you can use so that people have healthier lifestyles and they are able to space their children, and they choose when they want to have children. So we want to give people choices. So that is another concept that comes out of that. People need to be given choices and informed, so they can make informed choice.
Let's talk about the issue of education, something that you alluded to in terms of making sure that we have a population that can actually compete in the global economy. Many are asking, we had the government introduce the universal education policy, and of course we've been seeing still our focus being in the rural areas. Many schools are understaffed. If it's the children there's been the issue of whether the government to provide lunch for the students or not. But we know that all these other factors come into play. When you're releasing the report, also the World Bank gave out its report, and it said that a child born in Uganda today will only achieve 38% of their capacity in their lifetime. And they broke it down and they said nutrition is very important. The quality of education is very important. And what you're saying also, planning for the population. So with regards to education, what's your advice to government?
You see, education, and we've been talking about this, and I think the discussion is becoming to gain currency along the line. Education, especially of young people, we must start early, we must catch them early. This early childhood development is very, very important. Kids, when they go to school, if they're hungry, what the World Bank is talking about, if they're hungry, they cannot learn. And when they don't learn at that age, they lose out throughout their lifetime. It is something that they lose, and they will never be able to get it. So making sure that kids are fed, especially in schools, so that they're able to get good education, make sure they're attentive is extremely important. So nutrition and education is extremely important. Also the quality of education. The quality of education, as we talked about it, quality education that gives people education that makes them innovative, to make sure that they become entrepreneurs. That's what the country needs. The country doesn't need people who are vying only to become told PhDs, not PhDs. We want people to go out there, even if you stopped at A level, at O level, make sure university, you can become innovative, you can become an entrepreneur, you have ideas of how you can be able to think and live on this earth in a very creative manner. So that's the type of education that we are really looking out for.
But where do we start?
We start from the kids when they are young, feed them, get them in the school early, make sure the teachers know what to teach our kids. It cannot be the education that we used to have in the 50s and 60s. No, it has to be very different. And I think we are starting the conversation, and we will get there.
Okay.
It cannot be solved just overnight. So.
Right, because I can imagine the number of students. I was in Tororo, but it's quite scary. And of course, we were having the conversation on the Uganda Airlines and what it will take for us to actually start operations. And people, this is feedback that you're getting on social media. People are saying, if we have such issues, in Tororo I went, and the student to teacher ratio, you can't even think about it. They hardly have classrooms in some of the regions there. And so the question has been, are we missing our priority? Are these deliberate conversations that you're having with government, especially now that you as the National Population Council are on the ground and you actually interface with these realities? Do you bring this to them?
Exactly. That is exactly what we're saying. We are telling you the numbers are this. The children are going to go on increasing. They're increasing. You need to increase on the teachers. You need to increase on the classrooms. All of these things must be factored in, planned, and that is the only way you are going to do it. And as you do it, make sure you are paying attention to these little kids whom you want to be in school, but they cannot do it when they're hungry. So somebody who is dealing with nutrition must do the right thing. So these are and the curriculum, is it changing? Is it looking at our needs? The needs of the 1950s and 60s are not the needs of today. These kids need to be more IT savvy than what we used to be when I was in school. So that is the conversation we're having. And I'm telling you, the conversation is coming on. I know we are all anxious that we should be sorting out these things at a go, but it just cannot happen that way. But we must continue the discussion, and government must.
What's the reception like from the part of government?
The part of government, I think, is
they are
there.
Positive?
They are very positive. They are very positive. Sometimes they have issues of challenges. These things require money. They require planning. You must plan. You must be in sync. You know, the person who is doing the planning for the little kids must also be realizing that when you are looking at nutrition, somebody must look at the classrooms, somebody must look at the scholastic materials, somebody must look at the needs of the teachers themselves. Are the teachers going to be there in large numbers? Do they know what to do? Do they have the skills? In the health centers, are our healthcare providers looking at the needs of adolescents and making sure that these adolescents have the right information that is appropriate to them? You have younger kids who need some information, the others who need services. Right. So all of these must be planned for, and we need to make sure we are moving together. The education, the health, the economy, and all this, including governance. Last week we were even talking about good governance. A lot of these things we are talking about. Right. Accountability, getting rid of corruption. All of those things must be tackled, and we must make sure that we are moving in the same direction. Okay,
we have some of the views with regards to the same conversation, of course, after you release this particular report. Let's take a look.
To meaningfully contribute to economic development, it must be of the right quality, both in terms of demographics, knowledge, and skill set. I am glad to note that Uganda has already experienced and is still experiencing some demographic transition.
I go to the rural areas. You'll find that the children are 4 times the number of the adults. So I keep asking myself, in this parish, do we have schools for these children? I always ask myself, do we have schools for these children? I don't think we do. So we need, Minister, you need to go back to the drawing board on education to ensure that those children will have somewhere to go.
So actually, Madam Rebecca Kadaga agrees that there's a problem.
Absolutely, and she made the point very well. She's the one who officially launched the report,
right,
and very clearly expressed her concerns. And of course, being the Speaker of Parliament, she does presides over the House that does the appropriation of the budgets, and her concern is real. You know, we are busy spending this money, but are we doing the right thing? All these kids who are there, and if you don't pay attention to them, where are they going? If they don't have skills, these kids can be a problem to you in the future. They can cause social strife along the line.
Yeah. As we come to a close, your last remarks, sir, what should we be expecting from the National Population Council in the coming days? So
in the coming days, we are going to make sure that this report that we have put out, which has some very clear policy recommendations, we want to make sure that all the stakeholders know what is going on. So we are going to do a dissemination of this, but also hold the leaders, both at the national level and at the district level, accountable on this. And as we have said, the policies are there, the recommendations are there. We want to make sure that they are implemented at both national and district levels.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jotham Musinguzi, the Director General of the National Population Council. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you very much, madam.
So that has been the conversation on Kickstarter. Keep your views coming. We keep on insisting on that because it is your views that inform our conversations. Morning Attentive still continues. Up next is Take Note with Flavia Tumusime. Keep it here.